Hello, my lovely friends. This is Marta here. Welcome back. A very Merry Christmas to all of you, my friends. I hope you're having a good Christmas time filled with joy, happiness, together with your family and friends. I am wishing you all the best Christmas wishes from my home to your home, and hugs to all of you. I'm super excited to share with you this very special card, which I was keeping for this special day. This project, it was actually made for this year edition of the Scrap Mass. This is the biggest Christmas event in Poland, organized by a very talented and super amazing creator, paper crafter, Asia Shulik. I will link her channel down below in the description area, as well as the link to this special video, because this video is edited in the Polish voiceover version. So all of my Polish friends who would prefer to see it in the Polish version, it's down below on Asia Shulik channel, which is in the description. Now, my friends, this is a special Christmas card which I've created. I've decided to play a little bit with the acetate, and what I'm gonna be doing, I have some couple of pieces already cut in advance, some elements, some frames, and now I have two pieces of the very sturdy cardstock. You can use anything between 250 300 GSM. I have 300 GSM white card. I have two pieces of the acetate. My acetate, the one I have, this A4 size, it's not as thick as construction acetate, but I will help myself to back my construction with additional two pieces of the white card, which I think this is just a regular either 190 or 200 GSM card, the other two pieces. For my first pieces, I'm going to be creating a top hinge card. Because it's a very special card, of course it has to be in a big size. You know me by now, I love creating those big fancy cards, so I've decided to create one from A4 size paper. But for those of you, my friends, who doesn't have those large dies, or maybe your die cutting machine, it's not as same big size, you can create this card in a smaller version. Just use the smaller dies, or if you don't have the dies, you can use the ruler and craft knife, and that will be working well. So for my first card, what I did, I've placed the die right in the center, so those three frames, like three pieces frame from the top and sides, are more or less equal. But for my second card, I will need a little bit of the flap. My frame is around 1/4 of the inch thick, so this is what I'm doing. I am placing the paper on a scoring board, and I am doing 1/4 of the inch score line from the top. If your frame will be thicker or thinner, you can then adjust your line accordingly. I'm going to be placing the second square on the card and cut the same square frame, but this time as a top, I am referring to the scoring line. So I'm trying to make sure that all three sides are equal, but I am taking under consideration the scoring line, not the top of my card. I hope it's all clear for you. So I'm cutting this piece, and this will help me to create the top hinge card. At this point, whoever is going to be looking on this project will think like, oh, Marta, this is not going to be holding, never in the world. Like, this is very flimsy and there's no chance in the world this will hold together. But my friends, believe me, trust in the process. This is one of those cards when you just think like, oh, where am I going with it? But believe me, once you put all the layers, once you place the acetate and the backing side of the paper, another layer, this will be strong enough to hold your composition. Of course, if you would like to use some metal embellishment or some like a clay or those like, you know, epoxy pieces, which could be a little bit heavier, then definitely you will need some stronger acetate and maybe just additional layer of the cardstock. But because all my elements will be made from the paper, all the embellishments I'm going to be using for this card, then I'm sure, and you will see this on the end photos, that the card will be holding nicely. To adhere my acetate to the card, I'm gonna be using the glossy accent. I think it's just quick and just efficient. You could use the red tape, but I just find the acetate with the glossy accent, they just working perfectly. And I've been saying this more than once in a few videos by far. So if you are creating some shadow, like not shadow, the shaker boxes or something, and especially whenever you have the not regular shape, not like a square or rectangle, which are fairly easy to fill up with the tape, but you, for example, have some circle or maybe star or something like that, definitely try using the glossy accent, and you're not gonna regret that, because this glue is just holding acetate really nicely. So I've placed the piece of the acetate on one card, and now I am doing this on exactly the same step on the second card, but I am just leaving the glue up till the frame. I'm just leaving the flap on its own. There's no point for sticking the acetate on the flap side. So once you place your acetate, just go over the finger or your bone folder all over the area, just to make sure you're gonna be taking off all the air bubbles, or make sure that the glue will just go to each part. And as you can see, it's very quick and easy. So this is a two parts I'm gonna be creating my top hinge card from, but I want my card to look pretty. I want it to be nice from all sides. So this is why I am cutting two additional layers, which will help me to cover up all those glue markings, but this will also make the paper much stronger. So for the second layer, I'm just using the regular paper. I believe this is 190 GSM, but you can use whatever you have. The main thing for me was that the paper are matching color. If you're creating this type of the frame, I would recommend to stick to a one color, because then if your frame will be just a millimeter off one layer from the back layer, it will be visible if you had two different color papers. But because I'm cutting all my frames from the white card, that could be cream, black, whatever you want to, but because they are in the same color, then even if there would be like a half of the millimeter difference in between the frames, it's not gonna be visible. Second frame, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm just adhering it up to the scoring line. I'm leaving the flap on its own, like single layer. It doesn't have to have the second piece with the scoring line on the flap. The single flap will do just fine. Again, I've just used the glossy accent, but if you don't have glossy accent, you can use a double-sided tape or any other type of the adhesive, but I just find that this glue is very quick and easy to use. And once I have my windows, I will be gluing them like that on the top. But before I'm gonna do so, I also want to attach one additional frame to this, and I think it will be just easier to do it before I will join my card together. For that, I have this lovely circle. This circle was dyed using this Creative Craft product dies. I have those big circles, which are scallop circle and inverted scallop circles, and this way I was able to cut this nice shape frame. And I've cut those frame twice, one from the gold cardstock, and then I also cut additional layer from the white cardstock, which I could glue from the back side. So this way it will give me this nice professional look. My card will be looking lovely from all sides. If you open up the card, there won't be any markings of the glue or anything, because I am covering it with the frame. And I really like the card. This is actually the idea behind this card. I need to tell you that I had this very old photo, which is like Polaroid photo from the Christmas. And when I was thinking, oh, what shall I create for this Scrapmas edition, for this special card, I just thought, why not try to create the card which looks like a Polaroid. But in my head, I just had this idea. I want to fill the space with the acetate rather than colorful paper. And I wanted to do it with the acetate because I also had the second idea that if you place your card on the shelf or on your like fireplace mantle or something, you'll be able to put this little like a candle, of course those electric like the battery one, inside the card, and that will also serve a second purpose, which this will be giving you this nice almost like a, maybe not like a lamp, but it will be just, you know, having this light coming off from inside of the card. So now, once I have all the frames, all the layers glued together, I am just joining my card using this top flap. I added 2 pieces of the double-sided tape along the edges, and now I am just gluing it with the drop of the liquid glue as well. I added liquid glue because this way you can see here I can very easily lift the paper, make sure I just position it right when I want it, and then once I'm happy I am just pressing it. I'm using the bone folder just to make sure it's really nicely pressed and it's all sticking together. And here you can see it sits really nicely. At first it looks really plain, but believe me, once we fill up the composition and everything, this card will be looking lovely. I have this Merry Christmas die, which this comes from the Nordic Christmas from Textures, and I cut it, I think I cut like 4 layers of the white card, and then I color it using the Distress Oxide ink. But I was using this crackling campfire ink, but you can use whatever color you have, or you can cut them from the colored paper. The only one thing I would look after, my friends, if you're cutting it from the, if you're coloring your pieces from the regular distress ink, make sure you're not adding too much liquid glue so your element's not gonna be bleeding. Now, before I'm gonna adhere that, I am just adding this little doily to the center. This is a fancy circle from the Card Making Magic set, and I am just placing it right in the front. I love this die because it has a separate outer cutting edge, and this way I was able to create this perfect shadow pieces. And for my shadow piece, I am actually gluing it on the back side of the card, and this way I am able to position it. And as you can see, once the card is open, this frame, this lacy pattern, it's a little bit further away from the shadow piece, so this really give it this beautiful dimension. And of course, to make the card looking very nice, professional on both sides, I am also adding this additional piece to the inside portion as well. And then once I have all the layers ready, the last thing I have to do is just to dress up my card. As I've mentioned, the back side will be the perfect for adding the wishes, or if you decide to add the wishes on the inside, make sure that you keep them in a smaller circle so they're not gonna be visible through that lacy pattern. I have this snowflake frame and the Merry Christmas die from the textures range, and I'm just adhering it with the liquid glue. I think it's just gonna be looking nice, and when you look on a card, it's kind of, you look like a Polaroid picture, so that's why that was the idea behind today's card. So I'm pressing the glue a little bit, giving a little few seconds to dry, and as I've mentioned, I've used the Distress Oxide ink, which once they dry, but if you add the regular Distress ink, make sure that you don't add too much liquid adhesive, so it's not gonna be bleeding. And it's not going to destroy the effect. You can also cover the sentiment with the powder, embossing powder, and that will also give this very beautiful, nice effect. So here I've created all the bunch of the elements up front. I thought it would be just too long video if I would be creating all of them here. So I have some leaves, some flowers. Those are my own poinsettia flowers, which I've handmade, and then I'm just adhering everything to my card. So I'm starting from building the composition, adding the snowflake frame, which comes from the ephemera elements I've designed. This is a printable version for everyone who would like to check them. I will also leave the link down below in the description area, and I am just adhering it with layers of the double-sided foam tape to give it even more dimensional look. If you like, you could create this frame and add the sentiment into inside the frame, but what I wanted to create this nice flowery composition which will be in the center. Normally I've placed the sentiment in the center part and add the composition to the side, but this time I've decided that the composition will be the main focal point. I'm adding a little bit of those florist sizzle. This is something which helps me to fill up the gaps. I think it's just a nice cushion for the flowers and all the elements, and once I will have any extra gaps or something, it's always looking nice because you have something coming off from underneath, so there's no plain paper. So I start from adhering 3 flowers to the center, and then I will be slowly adding all additional elements as I go. The flowers and the holly leaves are of my own design, but all the other extra elements, these are coming from the little dies. The vast majority of the elements was from the die cutting essential. There was I need to double check which issue was that, but there was an issue which had plenty of those little dies with this beautiful leaves and elements for creations like that. So I've just cut a bunch of them from the gold cardstock and craft paper, and some of them I color with the inks. I add some like Nuvo drops to create that berry effect, and I also sprinkle them with the white gesso just to give it this nice splatter look. I really like especially the poppy heads, which you can see here. This is one of my favorite die from the magazine, and I'm really happy I've got it, because I was thinking for a second when I saw this magazine, I was like, oh, do I really need it? I've got plenty of the elements like that, but I've just bought it especially for this die with that poppy head. I absolutely love it. So I'm super happy I have it, and those elements, they just are looking so pretty, and I'm just deciding where to place a couple of the extra elements. I'm trying to make sure that the composition is nice and rich. And what I like to do, because I have those like a little gold berry in the center of my poinsettia, I've decided that some of the pine cones and little extra branches, they will be also cut from the gold mirror paper. This way the whole composition will be a little bit more luxurious look, because there's a gold elements popping here and there. So on this card, I use quite a few of those leaves. I'm keep adding more here and there whenever I feel I still want to fill up the gaps. But I just feel that for this one-of-a-kind special project, it's always nice to have this rich composition, plenty of the layers. There is so much going on here on this card. I'm super happy and how it's turned out. So I hope you will enjoy it. I will show you in a second couple of the close-up photos so you could see how beautiful this card turned out. Thank you so very much. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's been coming here to visit my channel, watch the video. If you do enjoy this card, please don't forget to say hi in the comment, to leave a like, and to share. Click the share button. This is something which really helped me out as a creator, to reach to new friends, to helps my channel to grow. And of course, I would really love it if you would subscribe as well. I will be coming back shortly. We're gonna have a new year, so I will be sharing a new craft room tour for the next year coming, so I hope you will enjoy that as well. So once again, my friends, I am wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope you're gonna have a lovely time with your family, with your friends. I am wishing you all the blessings. And at the same time, I am so thankful to all of you who's been here with me all this time, watching my videos, commenting, subscribing. I'm really super happy and blessed to have you all here. So here is how this card turned out. It's standing on its own fine, really well, and I'm super happy because it's just a nice project, something I could give to a very special person and, you know, have this one of a kind special project. And as I've mentioned, this card, it will be perfect for adding a little candle on the inside, something which will make it looking bright, especially when it's get a little bit darker. That will be just lighten up the whole project. I hope you enjoy it. Stay blessed, and I'll see you shortly on another video. I will be coming back with my live classes after New Year, so stay tuned and check up. I'm always giving a community post whenever the class will be coming. Stay blessed, and I'll see you after New Year. Have a wonderful time. Bye bye.